What's up, everyone? This is the Go Long podcast, and absolutely thrilled to welcome on our next guest because, Paul, we've got a lot of Bengals fans listening and reading at Go Long, so we got to give them what they want. They want some Paul Dehner Jr. in their life. How long have you covered the team? You're obviously at The Athletic right now covering the Bengals, but as long as I've known you, you've been there.
Yeah, this is, let's see, my first training camp was in Georgetown, Kentucky in 2010. So I guess this is my 13th training camp covering the team for a number of different outlets, but as like the main full guy since 2013, 14 in that area. So almost about a decade full, and then a bunch of training camps. So we've seen it all.
Well, you do not just blowing smoke up your ass. You do a phenomenal job. I mean, for those who don't know, Paul, I mean, your versatility, breaking news, writing features, game stories, columns. Really, if I ever want to know something about the Bengals, I'm reading your stuff. So thank you for everything you do. And, Bengals fans are lucky to have you, I think.
Appreciate it. And hear that podcast growling, our podcast that we have that we love doing here, covering the team too. There's too many. You can't have to these days, right, TD? I mean, like, if you are not doing a little bit of everything, you're a dinosaur. I mean, it's hard
Totally.
it's hard to not be. I remember, you talk about when we first started, not to tangent already before we even get going, but like when 10, 12 years ago, I mean, you were siloed. Like you're the news writer side. You write columns. Okay. You're on the radio. Now, like, if you're one person, you have to be doing all of that. And I always felt like, oh man, I'm like a jack of all trades. But now the evolution of media, like, you better be a jack of all trades or you can't do it, And so it's kind of fun to see the direction that it's gone, because I think it's spawned a lot of really, really talented people that are young and really good at a lot of different stuff.
It's enjoyable too. I mean, you get to tap into different parts of your brain, right? Like you're covering the team, and you've probably written about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon more times than you can count, but to be able to come at the team from different angles, one day you're trying to figure out what's going on with Jesse Bates and that contract situation, and it's got some hard news there, some meat on the bone, and then the next day maybe you can just go off on an opinion you have about something. You've kind of you have that freedom to just think differently day to day on the beat.
Yeah, and I think you have to, or just long form talk it out, and show personality that way, and be just more honest about it's the old, you want it to be your friend, your knowledgeable friend on the couch next to you. I just think people are so much better at being able to make fans feel like they're your friend on the couch now, because of outlets like this, everybody has a podcast, but to be able to write in different ways, and and show that you're just a person trying to relay what to people in different ways, and try to help people, whether it be better connected to the team or feel like you're being accountable to the team. Like you can just do that in so many different ways now. It makes it, I think, a lot more engaging for fans to kind of understand not just the team, but your job, and you a little bit. And, I think that's fun. Makes it more fun.
I'm hoping we can add meme to your, various job titles. Just meme. That's it. You're a phenomenal meme. I wasn't sure it was you at first, and then I'm looking closer. I'm like, that's absolutely Paul. So for people who don't know, that clip that went viral, Jamar Chase, and a lot of training camp clips have seemed to take off this camp, but that was a legit insane grab by Jamar Chase near your sideline where the reporters watch practice. And I had since left Cincinnati. I wish I was there standing by you. But your face, man, the camera captured it perfectly. You captured the catch perfectly. The disbelief of the face scrunching.
And it was, but here's it. And I've never really had that many people pause and zoom my face and send it to me before, like over and over again. I've that's the one rule in life: don't be a meme. Whatever happens, wherever you go, whatever you do, don't be a meme. And then all of a sudden you are. And I was just like, but I felt like it was just a total natural reaction to what a catch. And can you believe this dude? Like, always with this stuff. Like, he's just ridiculous. He's had an unbelievable camp. And that face, I really have made that face probably once a day, just on something that he's done, because he's just ridiculous, and it's crazy to watch him every day, whatever he does.
It's a good reminder, like we're all in this world where everybody has a camera. We're always a split second away from being immortalized by just the way our face looks or something we're
Yeah, I know.
doing. You know what like
Which is
really,
unfortunate. I
it's such an
just get,
innocent face you made, but like think about, I mean, who knows? You could be picking your nose, you could be
don't
just
pick
looking
your nose.
disgusted. It could have been a
Don't
lot
pick your nose.
worse.
Yeah,
What's
no.
that?
That's why I feel, for these athletes too, like they become memes just for anything they do out there on the field that's stupid, that would normally just be forgotten. I mean, and you're out there in the heat of battle, doing everything, trying to like make a living and kill yourself against these other elite athletes, and you do one weird thing, and now that's all you hear about for the next like 3 weeks, So yeah, that's where we are though now. Don't be a meme, but you probably will. I think we all are going to be a meme at some point. There's
Exactly. It'll
no
get us
getting.
all. Definitely, one way or another. Social media
You
will
might get
victimize
me
us
on
all.
this podcast. You might get me and turn me into a meme. I don't know if I can trust you on that.
Well, we don't like to cancel anybody. We're very anti-cancel culture here. So
Okay,
you're
good,
safe. You're safe.
good. Thank you. This is a safe
You always
space.
have a
I
home
like
at Go
that.
Long. If you do get canceled, just come on over. We'll hire you. We'll give you some
Okay,
beer or something.
it's good
Yeah.
to have a landing spot. I like that. If I ever screw up too bad.
We might as well talk about the Bengals a little bit. So Jamar Chase, you wrote a story. Full disclosure, I haven't read it yet. I see a lot of people talking about it, and I cannot wait to sink my teeth into your feature on Jamar Chase. But give us a little sneak peek at what you learned about, as you said, a dude who is just terrorizing defenses this summer.
Yeah, I mean, he really has kind of been, and it's odd to call him the star of camp. The camp's felt weird without Burrow, because
Yeah.
it's like I mean, you were there. It feels false. It's like everything's like, okay, we haven't really started yet until 9 starts throwing the ball, but he. It's crazy to say that a guy who was the offensive rookie of the year and really to talk the league and help drive a team to the Super Bowl could be the star of camp. Like, almost like not a surprise, but almost like a we'd call him a riser, right? We always could do risers or fallers or something like that. I mean, he's been you can almost see the jump that he's taken. But what has stood out to me in the point of the piece is, the Bengals didn't know totally what they had in Chase last year. They hoped they did. But remember this point in camp last year, it was, can Chase catch the ball? He had drops. He's talking about the stripes on the ball. And then he had a
Right.
bad game against Washington. And they're like, he drops everything and he's getting clowned, on every national show, and people are calling him a bust. And he comes out and has this great season. So, but there was, that was not made up. That was not some fictionalized thing. It got out of control, but it wasn't fiction. He really was struggling in camp. He struggled in games. He was in his own head, admittedly. And so they came into the season not really knowing what to expect of Chase, what to get. Then about midway through, he's a phenom, and the skill set you thought you had was even better. And so it took a while for them to really start opening the box on ways to use him, because he's such a versatile receiver. He's not just an X run, run a 9 down the field. He's his catch and run and his after the catch is like Cooper Kupp stuff, where he never gets tackled by the first guy. And you saw that a bunch in the first game against the Ravens. He goes in the blender and he goes 82 yards, part of his 200-yard day. You saw him do everything. Then you saw his just pure acceleration, like the home game against Kansas City in week 17, one of his most famous plays of the year. He just catches a basic comeback and outruns the entire Chiefs secondary out of nowhere, all that had the angle on him. See, they learned over the course of the year what they had, and they tried to use it more. And you saw the point. I went and looked at slot usage, because it's like, okay, they have a 1 now. They have a legit 1. Learn now how to start using him to keep other teams off balance, because they show up looking for where's Chase. And at week 13 last year, you could see they dropped the hammer of expanding his usage, where he was only in the slot about 10% of the time through the first 12 weeks. In the last 9, which includes their run to the Super Bowl, it was 25%. And the target percentage in the slot went from about 11%. So just of the slot routes in the first week 9, he was only getting about 11% of targets. So then the last portion of the season, all the way also up into the mid 20s, where Burrow was looking for him more inside there. The plays were designed more to utilize him inside. And it's no coincidence he took off again. There was people don't realize about Chase's first season. He had the incredible start. Then teams really focused on him, started taking him away. T. Higgins' star rose as teams started to pay attention. And then that last portion, as the Bengals started moving around, Chase took off a second time to that next level. Well, now they had a whole offseason to brainstorm other ways to do this with him and utilize that versatile skill set. And they kind of spent a bunch of time brainstorming, coming up with ways to do in the backfield more, in the slot more, design motions, things that stacks, things that can help free him up to keep teams thinking about him at the line. So then there goes Higgins, there goes Boyd, there goes whoever, or there goes Chase, right? So keeping teams off balance, never knowing where he is, they needed to get him up at the levels of Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, guys that are constantly used all over the formation. He needed to be up on that level. He was one of the lowest of the guys last year that had 80 receptions and 1,000 yards. There was 28 of them. He was 25th in slot usage. That's an insanely low number for somebody who is a born versatile weapon. That's part of his number one skill set. So I expect that number to be up in the 30% range, double that this year, and see a lot more versatility being how they get him the ball, because teams aren't going to let him just run down the field and go over top of him again. You're going to see deep shells. You're going to see all that stuff. And then it just opens up underneath for him to kind of do his catch and run stuff. So it's kind of the evolution of Chase that we're going to see in year 2 that we saw at the tail end of last year, which is a very, very, very long-winded answer that no one's now going to pay to read the piece because I just described it all.
We appreciate it. That's right. Everybody subscribe to Paul's work. That was a phenomenal breakdown, though. Really, I've never heard it in those terms. And man, a lot to unpack. I want to bring it back, though, to that training camp last year, because you're right. We forget the drops and talking about not having the stripes on the ball when it's coming towards you. He did sound like a receiver who was in his own head. And it's interesting to hear you say he was. Sometimes I wonder, all right, we're not there every day. Like, of course, everybody who's there every day sees that he's catching the ball a ton in practice and he's fine, but he wasn't fine. He was mentally a little off. How bad was it at that point?
No, and they recognized it. He talked about, and this is the power of Joe Burrow and about how much Burrow's confidence. I mean, there was one public, private, just Burrow was in full defense of Chase the entire time. I had coaches tell me off the record, every single time this ever got brought up around Burrow, all he said was, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. When the lights come on, he'll be fine. And he never showed a single ounce privately of any doubt. And it's to Chase, and then publicly the same way, always defending him. So when after the opener, when Chase catches a deep ball for a touchdown and does the gritty and goes off and they beat Minnesota in overtime, Burrow, before he sits down in the press conference, goes, "Oh, I thought he couldn't catch," to all of us in the press conference room, and because it was his way of saying, "I've been telling y'all this was going to be fine," like to everybody inside the room, outside the room, because he knew that he needed to be in his corner, that Chase was in his own head, that Chase was feeling it a little bit, and Chase was wondering, like you do if you're a rookie and you're struggling and you're feeling that pressure, that he just needed somebody to believe in him. Burrow's so innate. He's so natural at understanding what guys need that he knew that, and it really helped Chase get through that and get out of his own head and take off the way that he did.
We forget the power of that kind of support too. I think you're seeing it to the extreme in Miami, right? I mean, with Tua Tagovailoa, the flip side with a quarterback whose confidence was just mashed to bits with the previous coaching staff and the offense that they were running, and was in a really bad place. I mean, he knew they didn't want him. And now you have Tyreek Hill, Chase Edmonds, Mike McDaniel. I mean, everybody at every opportunity is just banging the table for Tua. I mean, we'll see if Tua's good. We don't really know yet, but he's been given every opportunity. And I think that God, just hearing your teammates and your peers speak in those terms privately and publicly, the mental side of the game, we forget about, we underestimate. It's not played on a spreadsheet. All that stuff matters for a guy like
Yeah.
Jamar Chase.
I gotta admit, we've talked about over the offseason, we had something about, where were we most wrong on some sports cliche or something over the last decade. And I said, you know what? Culture. My mind has been changed because I got so sick of every single introductory press conference for every coach ever. Culture, gotta set the culture, gonna set my culture. And it's just like, come on, man, like,
Yeah.
bring in the players. Culture is a winning streak. Okay, culture is everybody wins, everybody's happy, right? And there's obviously, that's part of it. Like, establishing culture is easy to do when you're winning and a lot harder to do when you're losing. But I watched it here, and this was not a team of stars last year. And this, they have some. They have the quarterback, they have Chase, they have, dudes, Trey Hendrickson, whatever. But it's about, this league is about getting the most out of everybody else. Your stars have to carry. You have to have that. You have to have the QB or you're toast. But the rest, the next step where the Bengals ended up last year, is about belief, is about dudes that get the most out of themselves because they love going to work every day. They build off of each other. And I just never really believed that stuff until I watched it with my own eyes happen with this team. Really, not just last year, really in the background during their 4-11-1 season in 2020.
Right. That win against the Steelers was a
Was notable, and
underrated
that was
win.
that was really the public view of it, where it was like, oh, okay, this team is still playing hard. It still matters. They're playing with an energy and a belief. But that was really simmering in the background, that the from the midpoint of that season on, where it was like, man, they're not winning. They're not talented enough. They got a lot of problems, and there's some issues still with some toxicity. But like, you could see a portion was evolving. The vision was starting to evolve. They just been so, they were playing without Burrow the second half of the season. I think you would have seen so much more of it. It was starting to build. And then so when he came back healthy and they added Chase and they kind of got rid of all of the old Marvin Lewis pieces, finally, it just took them 2 years to kind of really gut the locker room and with all the guys that they wanted to have in there. And most importantly, clear the path for the guys they brought in to be culture setters and leaders to actually do that. Because when you come in, and this is no slighting these guys, they were just from the previous group. When Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap and AJ Green and Giovanni Bernard, who are great guys and did great things and were phenomenal football players, but when they're there, you cede the room to them. They earned it. They're the vets. This is their place. They've been here for a decade or however long. When they're gone, you feel like you can take ownership of the room. You feel like you can move in the direction that you've wanted to. And that was a big deal. And that didn't happen until the year before that. And so then that culture could really take off. And you just saw it. There was just such energy. There was such fire in the way they played every week, like you just don't see. And then you saw all these role players start to really have great career years, all of them, because it built on itself, defensively. Chidobe Awuzie was incredible, a very good corner. It became a great corner. Eli Apple, the whole Mike Hilton was taken to the next level. I mean, Trey Hendrickson, Larry Ogunjobi, BJ Hill, they traded from the Giants. And these are guys that came in and also were playing great because they fed off of each other. They fed into this whole thing. And that is real. And I've just never seen it quite like I saw it happen last year. And we saw that in the very beginning, early portions of the season, even when they were 5-4 and, whatever, you still saw that they were getting the most out of it because guys really loved the team. They loved playing for each other. They loved the direction it was headed, and it was fun. And I've covered a lot of teams around here that were not a lot of those things. And you see why teams lose in the first round of the playoffs, and then why teams can make special runs. Not that they will every year, but you can see that's the difference. In this league where the talent's the same across the board, that thing, whatever it is that you're able to create,
Mm-hmm.
is really the stuff that sets off special runs.
I feel like we're a couple bald guys staring into each other's football souls. I could not agree with you more. I did the
It's
same.
so true, though.
It's
It's so
I know.
true.
Honestly, when I was at Bleacher Report, I want to say it was ahead of the 2018 season when the Browns, they get Odell and Jarvis Landry and Baker's back and Freddie Kitchens is the head coach. I mean, I wrote a big story. I spent some time around the team mocking the idea of culture, right? Just outright, you know, just looking down upon anybody who, thinks that culture matters. Because I agree, it's talent. Like you'd rather have talent. And then these last 5 years since I've kind of come around to it, I just think, like you, I hate hearing the term and hearing the press conference, cliches and dribble, just ugh. But when done right, you need it. You're absolutely right. Like you want to maximize every ounce of potential in every single player. And I love the list of players you just rattled off, and it's kind of a good transition into the defense too. But you've got dudes that were let go by other teams or not re-signed by other teams who are pissed off, kind of outcasts, have every reason to go out there and ball out and have a career year, and they somehow were able to find that magic formula, that magic potion, and make Patrick Mahomes look like a shitty quarterback in that second half. The same Patrick Mahomes who did whatever he wanted to against the Bills the week before.
You
I
say
mean, he
that
was a
second
different
half,
player.
that was the second time they did it to him that year. The same thing happened in week 17. People don't remember that. The game that the Bengals won to clinch the AFC North and the playoffs and all that stuff, beating Patrick Mahomes when Jamar Chase had 266. But really, big part of that story was they had a huge lead in that game. The Chiefs did, and the Bengals just shut them down, only 3 points in the second half. And then the same thing in the AFC title game. So I think that's where frustration comes from people here, certainly Bengals fans, but players on that defense, of being like, yo, I talk about them as a fluke. They did it twice to Patrick Mahomes last year. They beat him twice, and they did it the same way both times in their place with all of it on the line and at Paul Brown Stadium. And people kept trying to call it a fluke the whole way through. And it's like, how many times you got to do something to the premier player in the sport, and prove that you can beat the premier team that's been to the 4 straight AFC championship games until it's considered real. And I think that defense felt like they fought that all year. What people don't realize is during that run, because everybody wanted to talk about Burrow, and they should. He's that dude. But like their defense carried them. I mean, the offense struggled in the postseason often because of the sacks, everything. So people are like, oh, Burrow overcame the sacks. Yeah, so did a defense that was incredibly opportunistic, got turnovers, got big stops, and when short fields were created against them, they forced field goals over and over again and made the plays. I mean, they had 3 straight games. Every AFC playoff win ended with the last defensive play being an interception. Okay. So you had Jermaine Pratt in the wild card game, ended it on 4th and goal from the 9, intercepting the ball so that the Raiders couldn't tie it up or potentially go for 2 and win it. Then you had the win in Tennessee was the interception where Eli Apple breaks it up and Logan Wilson picks it off to set up Evan McPherson from 52 yards to beat the Titans. And then you had Jesse Bates's famous play where he knocks the ball back to Von Bell in overtime to set up Burrow on the short field and the field goal to win it. The defense set up every single one. They finished every game with a turnover, with an interception. And they did this all year. I mean, the opener against Minnesota was getting ready to win. It's a long forgotten game from week 1, but they're just running it out in overtime, giving it to Dalvin Cook in Bengals end, getting ready to trot out their kicker. And Jermaine Pratt rips it out on defensive play for them, number like 92 on like a 90-degree day. Just right before he goes to the ground, rips it out. They get the fumble. Burrow goes down and puts him in the field goal range with no time left, and they kick the field goal to beat the Vikings in overtime. They did it all year like this. But they got no credit because everyone wants to talk about Chase and Higgins and Boyd and Burrow and Mixon, and rightfully so. But under the radar, they were 8th in points per drive allowed last year. Top 10 defense coming from deep in the 20s for the
Right.
previous 2 years. Trey Hendrickson was a legit star. Cheeto Chidobe was a straight hard number one, undeniable number one. PFF, I think, had him graded in the top 5 in regular season. You had young players emerging everywhere. Jesse Bates is a star. Von Bell was a leader. I mean, they had great players, but they never were talked about, never really given much credit, never really given much attention because of the star power on the other side of the ball. But quietly, the reason the Bengals were playing in the Super Bowl and damn near won the thing, by the way, interception by Chidobe Awuzie sets them up, as well. They got the turnover. They just didn't get one last stop.
Held them to
Was because
16
of that
points with
defense.
3 minutes left, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can only do so much. They'll regret the 4th and 1 on the Rams' last drive. Lou Anarumo said he's watched it probably a million times, where they had a 4th and 1 on the Rams go ahead drive deep in the Rams' own end. They ran a jet sweep to Cooper Kupp, and Von Bell comes on the blitz on the outside. Perfect call against it. But Kupp just makes a great instinctual play and cuts inside Von Bell and gets the first down. I mean, if they make that play, it could be basically almost game over. I mean, the Bengals are set up late. So it's, again, one play away from a completely different narrative. But the one thing that to me was criminal about last year was how little people talked about the Bengals defense and how good they actually did play and were all year.
And it's just crazy to me, Paul, how, I mean, you're seeing long form stories written and everything when it comes to Sean McVay. The genius of Sean McVay just reaches another level this offseason where if they get one stop on that last drive, I mean, we're talking about Sean McVay pissing down his leg in another Super Bowl. I mean, it just seems like they were just running into a brick wall all night, and the Bengals deserve a lot of credit for that. He had no answers for the Bengals defense most of that night. And then the last drive, they decide, okay, let's just force the ball to Cooper Kupp. Enough, screwing around. Let's just get him the ball. Doesn't really matter what the coverage is. They do it. They get down there. Eli Apple on Cooper Kupp, not exactly a fair fight one-on-one in that spot with that throw. And now it's, the narrative is the exact opposite. We'd be talking about the Bengals defense in totally different terms if they win that Super Bowl, if they get a stop there.
For years of watching teams lose at the precipice, when under Marvin Lewis, where they lost in the first round of the playoffs 5 straight years, I developed a very keen sense of this line: to the winners go the narratives. Okay. So the Bengals were considered losers. They were considered untalented, choke artists, whatever. And those great players on those teams were diminished for how good they were, because they would lose in some of these games, whether it was those players' faults or not, or there would be all kinds of crazy stuff. The legend of the meltdown at Paul Brown game, where perfect happens with Antonio Brown and all that stuff that went down in that game. But all of that was painted in a very much a pro Steelers light after that, because to the winners go the narratives, right? Both teams melted down pretty hard actually in that game, and there was a lot of crazy stuff that went down, but nobody ever talks about the one side of it, because to the winners go the narratives. And it's the same way here, with the Super Bowl, where you're talking about one just half an extra second on Aaron Donald on 4th and 1, and we're talking about Burrow to Chase to win the Super Bowl in one of the greatest, what would have been one of the ballsiest throws and potential touchdowns in NFL history, if he throws it with Chase running with Ramsey on the ground.
My
God. I don't know if you know this. I know locally people know this because we talked about it a bunch, but he audibled to that. He sent Chase on the go ball. Think about the cojones it takes on a 2-minute drive in the Super Bowl on 4th and 1 in your own end to send Jamar Chase on a go ball and say, I'm going to throw it for all the marbles right here, because I've got press man against Jalen Ramsey, but I believe in my dude that much. I want to have that available to me, and I want to throw that. And he did. And maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was a fool's errand, but it was so close. People don't realize. I don't think that people quite realize how close that was to happening. Him literally hot routing Jamar Chase on what would have been one of the ballsiest throws in NFL history, and could have gone for a touchdown if they could have blocked Aaron Donald. But I bet a lot of teams can say that about a lot of plays.
I think you're right. I don't think not nearly enough people know that.
Yeah, it's the other side of that play that doesn't that gets it. Trust me, it's known here locally. People have seen this. Sweated, had nightmares over the snapshot of Burrow going to the ground while Ramsey's on the ground and Chase is running free. But it's what could have been, I guess.
It's unbelievable. I mean, yeah, it's I haven't looked at the all 22 of that one, but wide open.
Take a
right
peek.
there.
Take a peek.
Woo.
It's something. Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a couple. I mean, it was really two series in that game. Not to go, revisionist history of the Super Bowl here, but I mean, they have a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 on the opening drive of the game. And they aren't able to convert it. 3rd and 1, they gave it to Samaje Perine, and he didn't get it without Joe Mixon in there. And then on 4th and 1, Burrow misses a wide open T. Higgins just standing there in the slot and tries to force a ball to Jamar Chase, and the Rams go the other way at midfield. Last drive of the game, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. They give it to Samaje Perine. He runs it, and Aaron Donald stops him. And then the play, of course, on 4th and 1, where he goes down, that everyone's seen a million times. And again, that defines the game right there. I mean, convert 1 yard a couple of times, and they're scoring points on the opening drive, or they're doing what they did all year, which is probably score points on that last drive. And that's how close it was. But, if you listen to the way people talk about it, it was never close, never even that close. Like the Rams basically ran away with it only because of luck. And this, but that's how it is painted often. And that's how the Rams are painted from last year. Clearly they had the right way of doing it the whole time. I mean, we're talking about a play, a call.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have to call that call on Logan Wilson down there inside the 10.
No.
That ends up setting it up. It would have been 4th. It would have been just like the Raiders game. It would have been 4th down and a long way to go to try to get it into the end zone. Maybe they do. But I mean, again, that's all of these things at that level. We act like there's such a huge difference between the Rams and the Bengals last year, and because of the way it ended, but so minuscule, so tiny.
We forget about all these details over time.
Large part in the NFL. Yeah.
Once you win
Bengals
the Super
fans
Bowl,
have not forgotten these details.
Bengals fans haven't forgotten, but like to your point on
nor
will
they until Burrow can break through.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, what an egregious flag called on Logan Wilson there. I mean, it was.
But you know what? There were, I thought as a whole, actually, I thought the refs evened out in that game. Well, you had the deep touchdown to Higgins where he clearly pulled on Ramsey's face mask. And then you had that call that kind of, to me, those were almost, and then the play before that, Jermaine Pratt clearly almost tackled the running back out of the backfield, and they didn't call it. Because I had a fateful tweet. You should never have a fateful tweet, but it was, well, I guess if they're not calling that, the refs are clearly just not interested in throwing any flags in this game right after that play. And then after that came the onslaught of flags. There was 3 flags, all of them down there. The next play was Wilson, and there was a PI or whatever it was. And it's it changed at the end, which is where the frustration came from the Bengals and their fans, was that they started calling the game different at the very end than they had really all game. But I really didn't think that was one where anybody should be blaming referees like you would, and people still do. Probably Seahawks fans, I'm sure, from 2004 against the Steelers. I know there's still a lot of.
I just want prison rules at the end of games. I don't even care. They could just completely get rid of the flags. No. I want the refs to go home. Early. Yeah, right. Yeah. Just go home. Get the hell out of here. Let them play.
That should be the thing. At the 2-minute warning, everybody stands up and applauds the ref's effort, and then they go into the locker room, and it's just call your own fouls from that point on.
I like it. Yeah. Call your own fouls. Honor system. That's all. That's it. Well, Paul, you're the man. That was outstanding. God, where can people find you on Twitter? I got it right here. I don't want to. It's at Paul Dehner Jr. Right?
Yep, Apple Dehner Jr. It's all you got to do is just go on to Twitter there or and at The Athletic, of course. Myself and Jay Morrison, both covering the Bengals. Hear that podcast, Growl on our Bengals podcast, and just trying to keep up with you, TD. I love all the work you've done, and it's been so fun to watch your project take off. And next time I'm in Buffalo, because I have in-laws up there. Where we go? Are we going to Hamburg? Is that the spot?
Let's do it. Absolutely, man. Let's get some beers at Hamburg Brewing Company right around the stadium, about 10 minutes away. So,
Okay.
but we got to get wings somewhere too. We got to show you the good wing spots. We'll do it right.
Yeah, I've had a few. I've had a few, but I've mostly had them at my wife's grandmother would always get them ordered in, or she'd have some special. They'd have beef on weck in her basement. And so like authentic buffalo beef on weck in a grandma's basement.
Oh,
That's some legendary buffalo stuff right there now. So I feel like a little bit of a Buffalonian. I've been ushered in to see kind of the underbelly of the greatness. But I do need like a true wing trip, I guess, to make myself I don't know, christened.
yes, and absolutely. And you know what? When I'm back in Cincinnati, which hopefully will be soon, because man, what a fun team to cover. Just love getting there. And the city's underrated. I love Cincinnati as a city.
Totally agree.
But I got to give Chili another shot. I think it was 2016, maybe, when I did a Vontaze Burfict story.
Yeah.
I took like a little swipe at Skyline Chili in my story, and I had some people coming after me. I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
You know what? I got to give it another
personal.
shot.
It's like insulting your family around here. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, we can take our shots. And I don't mind it here, because we talk to players a lot about Skyline Chili and they don't like it, a lot of them, because I honestly think if you grew up here or you grew up used to it, like you just love it. It's like something, it like gets into your bloodstream somehow, and like it's like
party
made of nicotine or something. I think there's nicotine in it, and like you just it's just an addiction. But if you're not, it's weird. You're not used to it. It scares you. It looks crazy, and you don't like it, and that's totally fine. And like people understand when people get all mad and yell, "Skyline Chili sucks." Like, we don't care. Like I like it. We like it. It's part of what makes Cincinnati. The fact that you don't is totally fine. I get it. No one's asking you to like it. Stop yelling about it. And what mostly makes me mad is people don't realize Cincinnati is an incredible food city. Like there are like legendary chefs that have blown up lately all across the city. Over the Rhine has become a like foodie heaven, and it's an awesome city for great food. Whether you're talking about barbecue, whether you're talking about fine dining, whether you're talking about beer, it's a huge brewery town. There's like
I love that brewery.
Every neighborhood has its own local brewery. Rheingeist is one that's downtown. 50 West is one of my favorites. There's tons of, but every neighborhood has its own good one, which is not uncommon, but it's a really big deal here. There's a lot of history with these old breweries that got renovated in these really cool spaces. There's one right by my house, Mad Tree, that's massive and that just fills up every day. And it's just like all of this exists here, but people are too busy screaming about chili to even know that this thing exists, that Cincinnati is this incredible food and beer town. And so that's the only thing that frustrates me. Stop yelling about the chili. Come to town and let me show you how good this city is.
That's probably good, though, that we're all talking about chili, because it keeps Cincinnati a secret, right? If I'm a local, I kind of like that.
Fine, yeah. That's fine by me. I don't mind.
Argue about our shitty chili and, have your fun with that, and let us enjoy the Eagle. That fried chicken's incredible.
Absolutely.
I would kind of like that if I'm a local. So.
Yeah, I don't mind. It just feels personal when people think that they're like, it's just unnecessary. No one's asking anybody to like it. Stop yelling. I think it's always the first thing people go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I just brought it up. I bet you everybody does. And it's the same thing in Buffalo, where everybody thinks that everybody in West New York is just smashing through tables. Like it's kind of dumb, in my opinion. Like fans smash their tables when the team sucked and now they're good. Yeah. Why are you still breaking your tables? Like, find a hobby, guys. Like, it's not really everything you see at a tailgate. I think, it's been a while, but I don't think that's just rampant everywhere.
famously, my wife and some of our friends, we all went up when the Bengals played the Bills. This is probably maybe 6, 7 years ago. And they played in a game where all 4 seasons happened in one game. It was like the most Buffalo thing. It was maybe October, and it was warm. Everyone's peeling layers. It felt like summer. The sun was out. The sun went away. There was like rain, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're in the stadium and it started snowing. And it was like, how could all 4 seasons happen in one 5-hour period? And it was, Buffalo, man, it's just a unique place. When I think of it, I think of that game too.
Well, maybe they'll be playing in the AFC Championship game, and it's either going to be cold in Cincy or
So
cold in
13
Buffalo.
seconds away, 13 seconds away from it last year, right? I mean, where we
Yeah.
almost had Burrow Allen instead of Burrow Mahomes, and we could have had I don't know what the weather was like in Buffalo on that particular Sunday, but I'm gonna guess it was probably really cold.
Cold. I don't think it was snowing that day. I remember thinking about that because it would have been historic if they hosted an AFC Championship game. But I don't know. For my money, I think it could be what we see this year. Could be.
There's about 10 different options, right? I mean, the AFC is so hyper loaded. I don't think anybody would be surprised to see any of those teams from the AFC West, Bengals, Ravens, Bills. I
Yeah.
mean, there's Colts are sneaky. I mean, there's just so many teams that you can see it, you know, which full circle, it's tie the bow, TD, like any good long form, right? I mean, that's just it. Culture, momentum, whoever gets the most out of those guys, the talent is so even
Yeah.
across the board at the top of the AFC. It's going to be about whoever has that culture that propels some of their good players to play great and some of their average players to play good and kind of gets that special thing going. So you don't know who that's going to be. We'll see who can make it happen.
Perfectly put. Paul, you're the freaking man. Thanks so
No
much. I think
problem.
I said 15 minutes and we almost went for an hour. So,
Oh, good. I could do another hour. I
God, that
got
was
I got
awesome.
time. I'm happy to do it.
You're not, doing some calisthenics for this exhibition game tonight, gearing up mentally,
I
physically,
got my work.
emotionally.
Look, I have little kids, as you can probably tell by behind me. So I get up early. We're up early. I've already got
Yes.
a workout in. I mean, we're deep in it already. I'm already like, I've checked a lot of boxes today, TD.
One of the best parts about having little kids, right? I mean, we get up at like 4:35 each day
So
and your
much
body
done.
gets used to it. It's great.
Yeah. You get a lot of time for thinking in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? So
We don't sleep much, but yeah, there's
get
a
the
lot of
thinking
time
out
for
of the
that.
way in the middle of the night and then get the doing done when you've already been up, getting all your boxes checked before it's even lunchtime.
Well, thanks so much, man. We'll have to
Yep.
catch up here soon.
Looking forward to it.